The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Whether you're new to sales or a lifetime veteran, the Blackbelt Sales Podcast will sharpen your sword and guide you to master the art of sales. And now, here's your host, the ninja himself, Gene Slade.
Good morning, Don. Good to see you.
Good morning, Gene. Great to see you.
So we were talking about this on our Lead Ninja Mastermind this morning. If you guys don't know what that is, we actually have a private coaching group where we coach technicians and owners on how to increase their sales, their average tickets, and their closing ratios. And one of our students this morning brought to us, he's a comfort advisor, and he's got the ability to be a technician as well. But his main role in his company is comfort advisor. And he says that he's only getting about one lead a day right now. So he was looking for some ways that he can continue to thrive in this season, if you will. So, Don, why don't you go ahead and get us started? And just FYI, baby, I know that you're running this podcast for us. I can hear something out in the living room, and it's really loud and distracting. So please handle that for me. Go ahead, Don, kick it off.
Yeah, whether you're the business owner, a comfort advisor, a service tech, if the phone doesn't ring, there's not going to be any calls to give out. So when we're Google dependent, as so many companies do, you live and die by the demand call, the Google local services, and they're great. I'll take all those leads as I can get them as a business owner. But what if they change their algorithm? Or again, what if the weather turns into a off season of mildness? What if the economy changes things? It's, I love Weldon Long's comment here. It says the weather, the economy, Google, it's not going to dictate our success. It's just going to dictate how hard we have to work. When the weather is extremely hot, extremely cold, one extreme or the other, this business seems really easy. And then when we go into these off seasons, we get into a panic and we have to start all over. And what we want to talk about today is get through this season, but build a future. And it's okay if you're a technician, you can build this for your calls where people call in and ask for you. Wouldn't it be great if there were only 20 calls this whole week and every customer called in and asked for you? That would dictate a lot of work for you this week while everybody else was at home. So promoting is what we're talking about here. We're getting the schedule full, all the things to do. What do we have to do immediately, and what do we have to do for the long term so the momentum builds for us? So for those that's where we talked this morning.
For those people that don't know you, Don, I'd love to just give them a quick introduction. Don and I met about 6 years ago, and he had a really nice sized company, about a $3.5 million I'm out in the Birmingham, Alabama area. And Don hired us a lot. We came out. He probably spent, I'm not even going to say the dollar amount because you don't know who's listening to this, right?
Right.
He spent a bunch of money, a healthy six-figure chunk of money, and over a 3.5 year period, Don grew to have a $12 million company, and a couple of years ago was able to successfully exit it for an 8-figure profit. So I'm not just bringing on some guy, I'm bringing on somebody who really understands the business, understands the ebbs and flows and the different things that happen with the weather and other things that affect our business. So we're going to talk about a couple simple ways for you guys to, if you're a technician or if you're an owner, to get more leads through the door like right away. All right. So, and guys, if you're watching this on a live, will you please type live down in the comments? And if you're watching it on a replay, will you please type replay? That's the fee for the show. Pay the fee. All right. We appreciate it. Helps us to get it out to more other people, if you will. There was one thing I was going to say other than that, Don, but I forget what it was. So I'll just hand the floor back over to you.
Well, we spoke earlier. There are certain things you have to do for the immediacy. And sometimes when we act like advertising and marketing is a panic, and we got to roll the rock back up the hill every time we get into this mode, that's not a fun place to be in business. You want to build long term, but if we're in this situation, it's a balancing act. We have to do some things that'll fill the schedule today, maybe the rest of the week. We have to do some things to get our installers. I mean, we really sell the time it takes to do heating and air conditioning work, not the actual equipment. We're selling the labor, we're selling our services, the people that do the work. So we have to keep them busy. We can't just let them sit at home and say, well, I'll get more jobs next week, or we'll make it up next week. You can't make up lost labor. If people sit at home, that's work they could have gotten done. That's work they could have billed for, could have sold, whatever the issue. So we want to keep our staff busy all the time. And that always started for us with filling the schedule for our maintenance and our service department, whichever it took to get the schedule full. Yeah, Gene?
We're starting to see some comments about that. They're talking about this issue right now at work today. So I was just curious, for those of you that are with us right now, are you seeing lead flows drop? Yes or no? And if so, about what percentage are you seeing them drop? We're just taking a quick survey here. All right. Really appreciate it. So do we want to talk to technicians, or do we want to talk to owners right now, Don?
Well, a lot of these techniques will work for either, but I think the owners need to start this, because many technicians feel like, well, I'm not supposed to do this in my company. I'm supposed to wait around for the phone to ring. That's what I've always been taught. So the few 1%ers that will go out in the technician or comfort advisors and market themselves is very, very rare. But you need to be 100% a marketing company if you're the owner. And really, the business you're in, you're a marketing and sales company that just happens to do air conditioning, heater, plumbing, electrical. Those are the services you happen to do, but you're really a marketing and sales company. And that's where you have to start. So I think all techniques will fit in different categories, and some will apply to comfort advisors and to technicians, but the business owner needs to build that culture that says it's okay for their people to go out. Because again, they've been a little spoiled and entitled. They just stare at you a little bit and say, my numbers are down because you didn't give me leads. That conversation happens way too much. So
it doesn't work though when you become a business owner. There's nobody to point at.
Yeah, you go into business and now you suddenly realize, oh, it's up to me to fill the schedule. I worried about that schedule more than my CSRs really did. Because I wanted every person to stay working. You keep good staff in the off season if you keep them busy. Plus, you can hire great guys in the off season when their company can't keep them busy. So I will tell you that this is the time to be gathering talent when you're the guy who can keep them busy. And that's just part of the growing your business and everything else. You keep your guys busy in the off season. They love you through the rest of the year because they know they'll be busy the rest of the year. So we talked a little bit about some of the techniques for immediacy, some of the techniques for down the road. Let's start with how do we ring the bell and get a little motion today?
Yeah, let's talk about hunting and then farming, right? Because there's two different principles here. And before we do that, let's pay some bills real quick, Don. Is that cool?
Sounds good.
So look, guys, in 60 seconds, we're going to give you at least 4 or 5 different ways to immediately stimulate your business and get more sales, even in a situation or a time where your lead flows are down. All right. Very, very good at that. Before we do that, though, I just want to tell you real quick, our next training class, our next live event is coming up January 24th through the 28th. It's going to be in the Orlando area of Florida. You're going to check in on a Wednesday at 6 p.m. and then you'll check out at about 10 a.m. on Sunday. You'll be staying with us at the Grand Hala Mansion which is a 16,000 square foot house that we use quite a bit for this type of event. And we're going to pay for your food. You're lodging with us right there. You don't need to rent a car or anything, just an Uber from the airport. Once you get there, you won't need to go anywhere. There's no reason to go anywhere. We provide everything for you. And guys, this is a class that has taken comfort advisors that are doing $2.5 million and immediately launched them to $4-5 million, like in 30 to 60 days. One of our participants just had $1,050,000 month. So listen, if you guys are struggling with low average tickets, if you're struggling with 0 tickets, if you're struggling with a closing rate that's low, or you're struggling with the price objection, or I want to think about it, I got to talk to my wife, or I got to get other quotes, this is the place that you want to come and hang out. So Grand Hala Mansion, just go ahead and type mansion in the comments if you want more information, and we'll get that for you. Now that we're done paying the bills,
Yes.
Don, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Well, it is a great event. I enjoy getting to those. I appreciate your invitation for me to get to those. I get to teach, a few hours, but what I really enjoy doing the most is sitting around the pool or the social areas and just role playing the scripts. I want to think about it, how to do price, how to ask for the order. That's really the fun part for me, is you learn the things in the class and then you learn how to implement them the rest of the time. It's almost a 24-hour a day sales adventure. You do get your hours of sleep in, but sometimes some nights go quite late, just sitting around talking about sales and business. It's a great event. I'm glad we put it on, and I thank you for letting me participate in it.
Oh, it's our pleasure to have you, man. Especially when you come in barefoot to teach. It's awesome.
Yeah, I do have kind of a different attitude that sometimes comes out on it for me.
I guess that's what happens when you have an 8-figure exit.
so you can just say, I'm going to not wear shoes today, and that's okay.
Right.
It's a pool. There's a pool, so I'm going to use that as an excuse. I've been sitting around the pool.
All right, so
how do we get going on today? Yeah, how do we get things happening today? And let's put this in perspective, is that if you haven't got your salespeople trained, that becomes an issue that we're burning leads. So we have to do all of this kind of together. My dad would always explain those old vaudeville shows or shows where the guy was spinning the plates. And he would say, as a business owner, you start a plate and you get it going, and then you realize you got to get the next one going, and then get to the next one. And sometimes you have to go back and revisit the first plate, and then the second plate, and then the third, and then you can keep going. And that's what's going on here, is that you can't give up your training of salespeople, because the highest priority is I got to fill the schedule. Yes,
how often
it is.
do you train your salespeople, Don?
Well, we trained every day, and I rotated through a few different groups, but my maintenance guys, which are usually the youngest and the most aggressive lead setters, were every day. My comfort advisors would get a little smaller session and then a big session every week, but we trained every day.
How can
there's just no excuses now.
How can you afford to train every day?
You're going to utilize the time. People are going to waste the time. They're going to ride the clock if you pay them hourly. Might as well get some value out of it. And training, I know they're going to get their 40 hours somehow. They may milk a job for 3 or 4 more hours than it had to be, because they know they got bills and they've got Christmas coming along as well. My philosophy was, well, let's get them to their 40, but let's get them there producing and bettering themselves, and which would go out and produce more sales, more revenue.
I guess what I'm saying is, contractors are constantly saying, how do you train every day? You don't have time to do that. I don't think you have time not to.
Well, you do have to make it the priority, and it became my priority. So I was 7:15 to 8:30 every day. 7:15 to 8:30. I knew the guys who were really serious would be there right on time, and I knew the guys who weren't would drag ass in a little bit. And I would say it's okay. The guys who really wanted it got that extra 15, 20 minutes. Everybody else would show up about 7:30, and that's when I would kind of start the official meeting, if that makes sense. But I tell them 7:15 in hopes I'd get them there by 7:30. But we basically go over the basics over and over again. And as business owners, sometimes you're thinking, I've told these guys this. They don't want to hear it anymore. They probably don't. You don't want to say it anymore. But you have to keep teaching the same thing over and over again. On our training this morning, we actually were teaching a technique that I probably learned 6 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever it was, in the first class that you came out to. And I have been teaching it ever since. So 7 years, twice an hour, because we do this class an hour a week, twice. We've been reteaching it. 7 years later, we're still teaching the techniques. And you get to add to them as people grow their skills. We get to add to them. So we have to train. I was able to do it because I had a good operations manager that I could communicate with the night before. All right, here's the schedule. I knew what we were kind of working against. And then I would know, okay, I've got a couple of special situations. I'll let them out of the class early, and the rest I'll keep. If we had a day that the schedule didn't have a 9 o'clock appointment, that's typically when we wanted to make our first appointment, a 9 o'clock appointment. Arrive between 9 and 11, but shoot to be there right at 9 o'clock. If somebody didn't have it, well, that person might stay around for another 2-hour window session with me and do training. I may have to say, look, go sit over there and practice this and then come back to me in 30 minutes so I could take a break from it. But that person could train. If they're improving their sales skills, they're sharpening the knife, then we're ready to put them in front of somebody. We're ready to get them out and going.
So it sounds like number one piece of advice for everybody out there is to constantly be training, especially if you don't have calls. That way we reduce the number of zero tickets that you get.
Exactly. Sharpen the sword constantly. So when you do fill that schedule, that person can go do something with it, right? They can go produce income and revenue and add-ons or whatever leads, if that's all we need from this person. They can go produce at their highest potential.
Let's talk about the salespeople. So what's the first thing from a hunting perspective a salesperson should be doing if they've only got one call a day?
It's easy to say, and every salesperson will say they've done it, but they should be following up with every person they have communicated with forever. Okay, forever is a long time, but forever meaning until that person says, I have bought from someone else. I have done something else. I'm no longer in the market for this situation. That's, you follow up forever. And most don't do that. They give them a couple of weeks and then they don't get them on the phone and they're gone. So follow up is number one.
So let me just give some of the salespeople out there real quick, a quick way to follow up then. Follow up on all the deals that didn't close. Just text the client and ask them, did you replace, hey, this is Gene with ABC Heating and Cooling. Was just wondering, did you replace your system yet? Right? And if they say no, I want you to say something like this. Listen, I was thinking about your job this morning, and I've got a couple of ideas how I might be able to save you some money and maybe make you an offer that you can't refuse. But I don't want to say anything until I take one more look at the job. Are you going to be around at about 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whatever time it is? Are you going to be around for the next 2 hours? All right. Go back in this video and script out what I just gave you. All right. Just script it out word for word and say it exactly like that. If they will let you back in the house, chances are pretty good that you'll close it. Now, Gene, what if I can't give them any money off? What if it is what it is? When I get to the house, I might say something like this. Look, I can't give you something for nothing. And taking another look at the job right now, it really is priced exactly right. And I can't give you something for nothing. But what would be of value to me is if after the job, if you would just leave us 2 reviews, one on Facebook and one on Google. They just can't say the exact same thing. And all I would ask you to do is tell the truth about what it was like to do business with us. That would be of value to me. And I could see myself giving you bam, whatever discount it was that they asked for, or a partial discount, right? Always get something in return for giving something. So that's one way immediately that we can begin to make some more sales. Like Don was saying, following up with your existing customers that you've seen. But Don, what if I run through all of those?
Yeah. And think outside the box on those follow-ups. Text is awesome. A video text, a message, an audio text. You can do crazy stuff like go knock on their door. It is nuts that people live in houses and they will answer their door when they have been ignoring your phone call for a while. So you can think outside the box for your follow-ups. But let's say we have followed up everyone that we think didn't buy. Well, there's probably a whole service department of other customers that we did business with that didn't buy systems. Yeah, and you're going to say, well, they weren't interested in a system. That's because we didn't speak to them about it, right? Or
right.
Otherwise they'd be in your follow-up. So you can get your service ticket list. Everyone who we did work for the last 10 months, 11 months now. And there's thousands of possibilities there. Yeah, Gene?
So can I tell a quick story about that?
Please.
So a guy that used to be my mentor, he was a salesperson at one time. And he was getting the leads from the company just like everybody else. Well, he was walking through the office one day and he saw a bin, and this bin had a bunch of pink sheets in it. It was the fourth invoice or the fourth copy of the carbon invoice, right? Mm-hmm. And he asked them, he said, what are all these pink sheets? And they were like, well, it's an extra from the carbons that we don't use or put anywhere, so we just throw them in the garbage. And he went through and started looking at them. And you can tell by looking at a model or serial number for an HVAC, right, how old the system was, and you could see how much money they spent. So he began to take anybody at this time that had spent over $500, and he would actually call that person up and just go out and do a quality control check for the service call that was just run. He'd call up and go, hi, I'm Gene with ABC Heating and Cooling. I'm part of the quality control team here. And I see that you had a service call the other day. Did it go well, number one? And number two, would it be all right if I just slid by and did a quick quality control check, make sure that everybody's following our standards? And then next thing you know, he's in the door having a conversation with them. Hey, when you repaired the system, would you mind sharing with me why you chose the repair option versus the replace option when the technician showed it to you? And they'd often say stuff like, they never gave me an option to replace it. He'd be like, well, it's not as if you would have even considered it, would you? And they're like, well, I probably would have. How much is a new one? And next thing you know, he's having a new one conversation. So
yes,
quick little story. And by the way, he stopped taking leads from the company altogether. He went to his boss and says, listen, you can keep your leads. I don't want your leads. I'm going to make my own leads. And from every day from that point forward, those pink sheets, they went on his desk.
I would say it took the boss about 3 days to come back from passing out that a salesman said, I'll make my own leads, because that would just floor your boss galore if you're a comfort advisor and says, I will go out and stir up my own leads. Too many employees sit there and wait for the leads to come. Comfort advisors,
they suckle at the teeth, Don, the company teeth.
And you know, you'll be shocked if you volunteer to go help generate stuff. You're gonna be shocked at the amount of appreciation that you'll get, because it is a lonely job to have a company full of people. And I had about 75 at one time. When I left, we were about 55. 55 did more work than the 75, so I'm very proud of that. I don't think that's a downgrade at all, but it's very stressful when 55 people, you feel like all their eyes are concentrated on you, like we don't have any work today. So that's very stressful, very lonely to have that feeling that 55 families and their Christmas and that, that Nintendo Switch was dependent on you trying to find their dad some work to do today. Yeah. Their father some work so he could have the money to buy the Christmas presents. So it's very stressful.
If you're live, will you please just put live down in the comments? If you're watching it on a replay, will you please put replay in the comments? It's how we get this out to more people. And hey, listen, if you're feeling generous, how about a share? Yeah, if you actually get something of massive value today that you can take with you that you think is going to help you, how about you just share the stream right now? That'd be phenomenal. So Don, we can follow up on service invoices. We can follow up on our own calls. The fortune really, truly is in the follow-up, and nobody does it.
Right. There's a lot of, that's the immediacy. All right.
That's the hunting part.
That's the hunting. And I know we've been on here for a while and we want to get to the rest, but if you need a script, I think if you need help with that, put a message in there that you need a little help with that follow-up script, and we'll see if we can get that script to you as well that we've used before, I've used before. So we hunt, we fill the schedule. And again, in my service department, I didn't care if I had to do a maintenance call, just a tune-up that paid. The schedule got full. So you convert your servicemen into the mentality that when the schedule's not full, they will run maintenance calls, and we fill that schedule. So, all right, we've done our follow-up, the ones that we've sold, the ones we haven't sold, and didn't mention the one we sold. Call the people who bought. Just ask them if they're happy, and then let them know. Promote referrals, which is where we're going next. Is every call you go on, you'll often hear ask for referrals. I like to say promote referrals. Promote unsolicited referrals. You probably don't know anybody right now that needs our services, but if you ever run across someone that needs plumbing, electrical, air conditioning work, just let them know to call me, and here's a business card. And here's something so they'll remember you. It doesn't matter if it's a business card. You could easily text message them your contact information. I'm good with that as well, because that's just another business card, a way for them to get back to you. So, and if they mention, oh yeah, my mother has breathing issues, and that same thing that you found in this house might be in her house, they'll mention a few. The more thorough you are at the conversation and the inspection on the call your own, they'll now know people like, oh, I've got a sister that has breathing problems. I wonder if this is what her issue is. She lives in an old house, or whatever the story comes out. They'll want to tell you those stories. And then you'll just say, well, here's my card. Ask them to call me. Even though I'd like for you to gather referrals, I'd rather you get out there and promote referrals, because this is the farming, growing your own customer base, growing your customer base,
your own economy.
We promote those referrals, and those might not have an immediate effect to today or tomorrow, this week, this month. But if we put in the work now, come this spring, that momentum will turn. Next summer, when it gets hot, there'll be people going, oh, my air went out. And they'll just be, we complain everywhere in this world. People will just complain, my air went out. And that somebody will say, oh, call Don.
Do people not sticker units anymore?
We did for years, but you do get to that point where you run out of stickers, and it takes weeks and months to get them back in. And sometimes guys get lazy. I will say that. But yes, you should be stickering everything, every system that you run across. So, but we got guilty of guys run out, and then you'd say, when'd you run out? And it's been about 3 weeks ago. And you're like, why haven't you told me? All those opportunities gone now. It's hard to go back and say.
That's the equivalent of farming too.
Yeah, that is the equivalent of that house staying with you, whether that customer moves on or not, right?
If
so
the
there's
water
really two
heater
ways.
goes out, right? Do they go to the water heater and tap it and see, or the air conditioning system? You usually go out to see, can I hear it running, right? And if the phone number's right there in front of you, I mean, this is one of the oldest, easiest things in the world to do. People aren't doing it.
And it is the farming aspect of it, because we're in a immediate gratification society. I want it now. I jokingly say I want it before I even know I even wanted it. mentality. That's immediate gratification.
Yeah.
So I want it before it even happens. There was a funny
If
line
not,
says,
they're going to pull out this damn device here right by that furnace or air conditioner or water heater electrical panel, and they're going to go to Google, right? If the number's right there, they'll just call it right there.
yeah, they will. And so, yes, farming and the stickers are great. Now we can digitally farm and digitally sticker. And that's what I typically want to, tell people to promote. You've got to build an automation where you're constantly in front of your clients. Is that through an email? Okay, not many of them get read. 25% get opened, but 100% of them show up in the inbox. Let's just say, if you're not necessarily spammed and pushed out, but so you get a bunch of eyes seeing these little bitty billboards that have your company and associated with your trade. Freedom Air Conditioning, Freedom Air Conditioning. So a lot of little bitty billboards, and they're very cheap billboards. You can send 10,000 one-line billboards for free versus that big billboard that you buy that costs you $3,000-$4,000 a month. I would not going to say I wouldn't do that in the right situation, but I'd certainly do the cheapest marketing first. And
right.
Little billboards, text message, little billboards, voicemail drops, and of course, live calling or even AI calling, which we certainly are developing and promoting and bringing people into that world right now as well. So all of those things are tiny billboards that are just constant reminders of what service you do. We don't know who needs our services today. We have to reach out to a lot of people.
So Don just mentioned AI calling. And so in 30 seconds, I'll just try to tell you what that is. We're developing an AI agent, an outbound agent that can actually make outbound telephone calls and handle inbound telephone calls. But the purpose first, when we developed it, was to make outbound calls to your existing customer base when things get slow like this, right? And we're doing some test launches with it this week, and I expect to be able to roll it out for everybody or so in the next 30 days or so. So if you're interested in that, you want to type AI down in the comments, and we can jump on a call and I can tell you how all of that works. But it sounds like a human being making outbound telephone calls. And the coolest thing is that if I need to book my schedule, I can call one person or I can call 1,000 all at the same time. I can make 1,000 calls in about 5 to 10 minutes and book the schedule. So it's really, really cool. It's next level. It's where everything's going. And you heard it here first. So, Don, so we're getting into a little bit of the farming now. What else can we do from that perspective? Your video just went up and down. You good?
Working on it. Sorry about that.
There we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
So what other techniques?
Well, and I want to say that building your marketing automation so that you don't have to think about rolling that rock up the hill. This is the time of year I would always kind of mentally November, Thanksgiving in mid-November, but Thanksgiving, I would look at my whole advertising for the next year. And I would look at all my emails, and I might have to write some new emails because there might be something timely coming out. Right now, we've got definitely more news talking about the economy and things of that nature. So there might be some more emails that need to attach to those conversations. When it was COVID, obviously those were conversations that you can have with your people to make your marketing and stuff timely. But the vast majority of what I did during this time was I just went to all my emails and I changed the subject line to be relevant. It was the same email. So because if they didn't open it to begin with, they weren't going to know anyway.
Yeah.
So it refreshed it with just a new subject line.
That's brilliant.
Maybe you change one or two headlines, but all in all, you didn't have to rewrite 80 emails a year. I had about 80 emails that went out fairly regular through different campaigns and different things, and just rotate through them. I had one email that was our $39 tune-up that went out 1.3 million times. I used the same email 1.3 million times and got very little like complaints, very little off the list type stuff. Because as a percentage of 1.3 million times, even if 10 or 50 or 100 people says, do not email me again, it's a tiny fraction. It's minimal. It's nothing.
I gotta say something about that. So I went, I did a lot of business with Grant Cardone a few years ago, and Grant Cardone is an emailing maniac. I mean, irritatingly frequent, right? And he used to tell people, his people would say, we can't send so many emails, people are going to unsubscribe. And he says, in an audience of like 2,000 people, he says, everybody's always complaining about my emails, but I tell them, hit the list again, right? Just hit the list, hit the list, hit the list. And he's like, I want to see a show of hands. How many of you in this audience have unsubscribed from my email campaigns? And like at least 50% of the hands went up in the room. And he goes, but you're here, aren't you? Right? He said, I got you again, didn't I? I put some other sort of piece of value out there for you to put your name and information in, and then you were back into the list. Just because somebody unsubscribes from your list doesn't mean you can't throw something else of value that's out there on a social channel or something like that and get them to actually resubscribe.
My goal for Freedom, again, our company size, was 100,000 emails a month. And I would run between 90,000 and 100,000 emails a month.
Wow.
You could say it's free. Yeah, you buy a third-party email program that might run you $200-$300 a month or a little more nowadays. But so it wasn't truly free, but 100,000 emails and 100,000 marketing for $300-$400 a month, even $500 a month is free. That's free. So, so I had to build that up. I had to get that developed, and that's marketing automation. 3-4 years ago, marketing automation was an incredible word. We heard it all the time. Now we're hearing AI, and I agree, AI is next level. But we don't throw away marketing automation just because we get another tool, right? We're not going to throw away our old tool just because we get a new tool.
Because it's still working.
Because it is still working. So that's really where most business owners get frustrated, is marketing. They don't really enjoy it. They don't love it. They're really technicians at heart, and a lot of the guys that come through. And so they can have a conversation about the technical aspects of it. But marketing's almost like gets thrown at them on a Monday morning when they go in and the schedule's empty or something happens and they have to panic. Marketing automation is doing your work now so that the rest of the year it just keeps going. Again, we sent 90 to 100,000 emails a month, and I didn't open the program but a few times between Thanksgiving and the end of the year. So I would go in there and play with it for a couple of weeks and tweak it. I'd close it, and the rest of the year, it just ran. That's awesome. Had APIs connected to Service Titan or whatever, so all my new customers were getting fed into the database constantly. That's marketing automation, where every time you run a call, they get put into your marketing campaign. You have to build a marketing campaign for them to do something, but automation in the AI world can take and do that. You can do it manually. But for me, at our level, we were running 15,000 calls a year. I didn't want to have one person in my office that all they did was keyed in name, address, phone number, email. But you know what? If I had to pay somebody to do it, it still would have been worthwhile. It was really that important. But I could automate that out.
Some of my owners out there, I know that we're really just skimming the surface of some of these topics, and it occurred to me that I should probably let you guys know that Don and I run an owners group where we meet Wednesdays at 1:00 Eastern, and it's called the Profit Coach Mastermind. And for the rest of this month, we're actually doing meetings for free for new participants. So you can come into that group for up to 30 days. And it'll be on us. But if you are an owner and you want to get into that group, just put Profit Coach down in the comments, and I'll have one of my team members send you an invite to the group and start your clock for 30 days. It's no strings attached. You don't have to pay us anything, give us any credit card numbers. We just need a little bit of data from you is all, just phone number, email, stuff like that.
And you can come and ask your specific questions, or I need help with that script, that, my company is different. How many times do we get that statement? My company is different. And we can help you work through how to build it for you, even the automation. But we're having a lot of those conversations. I encourage everybody to do their prep work for next year this month. Get it going.
I want to continue this conversation onto another podcast. Maybe on Thursday. We're scheduled to do one on Thursday, but we're getting closer to time here. I want to play a quick video for everybody, and then we're going to come back here and we're going to wrap it up within the next 5 minutes or so. Okay, so baby, if you've got that video ready to rock and roll, let's get it rolling. I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek at the event that's coming up here in January 24th through the 28th. You do not want to miss this.
I'm Jonah Gorlitz. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I've been doing HVAC for about 1.5, 2 years now, and I work for Instanair out of Shepherdsville, Kentucky.
Hi, I'm Kim Kay. I work with Leads Nearby, and I've been working with Leads Nearby for over 8 years, and we work with HVAC, electrical, and plumbing contractors.
So my name is Chris Laurentino from Comfort Specialists. We're out of Morris County, New Jersey. I've been in the industry about 17 years now.
I joined the mastermind because it's not just a sales course. Actually, it's not really a sales course at all.
So the reason that I joined the mastermind is I've seen some people's results online that
This is different from other events I've been to. I've been to various conference events for quite a few years now.
It's really taught me how to understand and communicate to the customer well. It's actually my second mansion trip.
from the community of how well some people have done, and I really wanted to be a part of that.
This one is the best space. It's the most glamorous space. And it's basically one training that builds upon each other.
Share in that success, and I felt that the best way to achieve that was to actually get here and get involved in the training. And frankly, in my mind, there's no better way to train than in person.
Since I've been in the class since December, my income has improved, my revenue for the company has improved, my customer relations have improved, and my call volume has decreased while the profits and everything else has increased.
Being here is a unique experience that you can't replicate in just the Zoom class. There's so much more that you get out of this.
And the other events I've been to, it's a lot of information on a lot of topics, where this is very concentrated. I feel like it allows you to have more focus.
It's awesome, man. That is awesome. Great
So come
video.
out and visit with us guys in January. Listen, I've always had this standing guarantee. I know that it doesn't appear to be cheap to come to one of our events, but for what we do, we are the cheapest in the world. All right. And I've always had this standing guarantee that if you're an owner and you decide to come out, if after the first day of training, you don't feel like you've already gotten your money's worth, you just let me know. I'll cut you a check and you can head on out and it won't be any skin off your back. Okay. That's a huge guarantee. I've never, ever had anybody take us up on it. And by the way, if you can't actually come out to that event, but you still want to get trained, we do have the Lead Ninja Mastermind, which twice a week we actually coach technicians and owners, and there's a whole certification process that's laid out for them step by step by step of exactly what to do and exactly how to get certified. And I don't have anybody who's ever gotten certified in our program that makes less than $150,000. Matter of fact, the most recent guy who got certified went from making about $40,000 when he first met us to now he's running at about $200,000 plus in income.
Yeah, it's amazing. One of those, the young kid, if I can say, on that video, we had that conversation. Jonah, again, year and a half or whatever. We have to kind of drag him back into the fold every now and then because young, he kind of drifts a little bit. But he told me he was, going to go over 100,000 this year, and he was right at it. I think in early November, he was already in the mid 90s. I think that's incredible.
He's
for anyone,
21
but that's
yet?
an incredible. Yeah, I don't think he's 21 yet. Yeah.
And he's making more money than both of his parents combined.
Yeah. Congratulations to him. He did the hard work, but we're there to walk you through it every step of the way. Certification process, level 1, where you learn the basics, and level 2, you start getting the scripts, and then the level 3, you start getting the little nuances and the each product that you put in it. Those who go through the whole certification make a lot more than those who don't. It's pretty simple as that. No promise of, you don't need a promise of the numbers. You just, if you want to make more, do the work.
There's actually a 30-day action-based money-back guarantee on that program. The program's like 10 grand a year to join, which is super, super cheap. But there's actually a 30-day action-based money-back guarantee, and we're the only people in the industry that'll put our money where our mouth's at like that. And I've only ever had one person that did take us up on that guarantee in all the years that we've been doing it. And it really wasn't even that he didn't feel like the program would work for him. He just had some other financial obligations. He got himself into trouble.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to see some people out there. We can have business conversations. Usually when business owners are there, I have a lot more business conversations, issues that come up. Who knows what they might be, economy or who we're using for finance. But that's what the Profit Coach Mastermind is tomorrow, 1:00 Eastern. And you can have those conversations. You can bring those. You can learn from the group, and then you can also get another hour of time with me and Gene. So love to see some guys out there.
So type Profit Coach down in the comments if you want more information on that. Type Mansion down in the comments if you want more information on that. And then type Mastermind down in the comments if you want more information on the twice-a-week training and the group where I put everything I've ever written or done inside of it. There's like 600 hours worth of training inside that group. Guys, we appreciate you joining us today. Don, thank you as always for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with everybody, the whole audience. We appreciate you. If you watched this live and you haven't yet, will you please type live in the comments? And if you are watching it on a replay, just type replay for us. That's the fee for the show. We really, really appreciate you guys. And we'll be back to talk about this part 2 of hunting and farming on Thursday, same time, same channel, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. All right. Love you guys. Please hit the like button, hit the share button for us. We really do appreciate you helping us to get this message out to more people. The joy in our lives really, truly comes from seeing the successes of others. Once you've had an 8-figure exit and you've got FU money like Don, I know you don't have FU money, man. It's fast. It's fun.
Every now and then I like to say that, so it's okay.
Funny how fast you can spend $1 million.
It is very funny.
Love you guys. Have yourselves a great day, ninjas. Gene and Don signing off. We'll see you on Thursday or tomorrow in the Profit Coach Mastermind.
Hope to see you there. Thank you.